Joining us on the sofa is Alex Neil from the consumer organisation which helped with the investigation. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
So there were a number of concerns here. One is the way that, that these people who are being called are sort of being hit hard with techniques for trying to raise more money and perhaps feeling under pressure. But there's also an issue, isn't there, with people being called when they think that they have in some way opted out of being called and they're still getting those calls. So what are the main concerns for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nuisance calls and text are a modern day menace now. 8 in 10 of us say we get a call every month. It's absolutely totally unacceptable if fundraising charities are using these tactics to raise money. I mean, we are concerned when we looked at the findings from the Daily Mail about the fact that there appears to be some breaches of the rules where people have signed up to the telephone preference service, which means that they're saying, I don't want cold calls, and then yet they still seem to be getting calls. There are also some concerns about the tactics used, both the pressure put on people that potentially have got Alzheimer's or dementia, and also around using surveys, so pretending to set up surveys. It's a tactic called sugging, to actually get consent so that then they can make legitimate calls. That practice is not allowed, and there seems to be a lot here that we'd expect the regulators to be looking into.
Alex, we've had loads and loads of messages from Facebook and on Twitter. Emma Linney got in touch on Facebook to say, since being involved in a bad car accident last year, I've been inundated by companies regarding claims for compensation for injuries. I've asked for every single one to remove my number from the records, but they repeatedly ring. It's a slightly different scenario, but of course it's still this cold calling where they realise that she's had a car accident. And the point that she makes, which is something that you've just pointed out there, she keeps asking them to take her off their list, but they don't. And that's a big, big issue, isn't it? Because these people, you do have a right to say, take me off your list and don't call me again.
Absolutely. It's a real problem. I mean, that case is really typical. We've got over 200,000 people backing our campaign on nuisance calls and texts, and it is all those sorts of things, PPI, accident claims, and people are saying to the people who call, you need to take me off the list. And in those cases, that is a breach of the rules. It's really clear, and those firms should face penalties. And now that's gone up, so they could be faced with up to £500,000 fine for making those sorts of calls.
I think what's so shocking to people about this scenario is that it's charities, and that you hope that you're doing something generous and helpful by supporting a charity, and in return some of these people are feeling like, they're being bombarded. Dave Wainwright says, I made a donation by text following a TV advertising appeal. I have since been inundated with text appeals from that charity. I shall never donate by text again. The charities must be concerned that this would backfire in some way.
That's really sad. I mean, it's really bad for the charity sector if certain fundraisers aren't keeping a close enough eye on the practices, either by the people they're employing or the things they're doing themselves. That's one of the reasons why we're saying to the government, actually, that they need to intervene now. There have been a couple of cases here. We don't want the sector to be all tarnished with the same brush. They should intervene, look at the rules and make sure things tighten up to stop this practice.
All right, Alex, thanks very much indeed. Alex Neil from Which.
Thanks, Alex.